everyone. Welcome to Proficy 2026, our annual leadership strategy and product launch webinar series. My name is Alexis Murphy, and I will be your host today. On today's webinar, we'll discuss the ways in which Proficy Smart Factory enables a predictive, agile manufacturing enterprise, along with the latest and upcoming enhancements to the solution. Before we get into the meat of our presentation today, I want to be sure to mention that today's event may include forward-looking statements. The information presented is intended to be an outline of general product direction, and it should not be relied on in making a purchasing decision. Now for some housekeeping. You should all see an interface with some buttons at the bottom of your screen. They look like the ones on the right side of the slide here. Please send any questions you have through that orange chat bubble button. Through the purple envelope button, you can contact our team. The blue paperclip button is our most important, as it's where you'll find relevant content and resources related to today's webinar. Through that orange person icon, you can connect with today's presenter and Senior Director of Product Management for Proficy Smart Factory, Joe Gerstel. If you need technical assistance, please reach out through the orange question mark button, though most of your issues can be resolved just by refreshing your browser. Lastly, we ask that you please share your feedback through that pink checklist button. It's where you can send us your latest challenges and initiatives, and we really use that information to build our solutions collaboratively with your insight in mind. Now, I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Joe Gerstel. He is the Senior Director of Product Management for Proficy Smart Factory. Joe has worked in the software and manufacturing industries for more than 30 years, spending time in various roles including engineering, sales, services, and product management for large global companies. Joe has partnered with hundreds of companies to improve their operations, solutions, and processes, spanning nearly every manufacturing industry, including food and beverage, aerospace, consumer packaged goods, and automotive. And with that, I will kick it over to Joe to take us through today's presentation. Take it away, Joe.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. As Alexa said, we're going to go over Proficy Smart Factory in 2026 and all the things that are new and available in it. Just to level set everybody on what Smart Factory is. It is, of course, an MES system, and it's a modern system based on modern technology, web-based front end, and containerized backend. It's available on the cloud as a managed service for SaaS, or you can run it on-premise. It's used by hundreds of customers throughout the world, and it's really focused on helping you increase your quality and provide you with confidence in your compliance. So when we talk about Proficy Smart Factory, we're talking about three components, actually. A historian is where we gather the data and collect it from the equipment and the machinery. The visualization is where you actually see the data. But what we're going to talk about today is the MES component that really contextualizes that data that's either captured from the equipment or manually by operators. It's really about, again, contextualizing that data, summarizing that data, providing you usable data that is available to your operators, to your engineers, to your plant managers, to your supervisors, etc. So let's talk about the current trends, industrial trends. So AI. You can't really have a conversation or a presentation today without talking about AI. And it's really not just about predicting problems, because when you look in the past, machine learning was really AI. It's the first start of AI. And that was helpful for predicting challenges and problems that you might be having on your shop floor. But it's really moved into more of an agentic type situation where AI can actually start to take action. Are we ready for that? Maybe not, but we're getting there, and the technology is moving forward really fast. The other thing that's important today, especially mentioning AI and the data centers and the energy they use, energy consumption and carbon footprints. Capturing that waste and measuring your MES KPIs that are related to sustainability is really important as well. The third thing is OT cybersecurity. So IT and OT have converged as we've known for the last couple of years, and it's really made the plant floor systems a target. It's hard now not to be connected to the internet for some of your software, and connecting the plant floor to the internet is really unnerving and can be dangerous. So security is a big challenge for folks, and it's something that we at Volata take very, very seriously. So the value of MES is all about this digital thread, seeing the data from the equipment, from the operators, and it's really no longer just in the plant. It's connecting the data that's coming from outside the plant and moving off to your customers and providing them with that continuous history of what's available in your product and how it was made and the quality of that product. So as a modern manufacturer, you really need to think about these four things. Flexible user experience. So a role-based user experience is really important because customers, your operators and your engineers and those that are working on your systems, they expect a modern user experience. We've got to move off the green screen. We've got to move to a web-based platform because that's what they do every day. They expect their daily routine to be just like their evening routine when they're browsing on their phone or their computer at home. So the ability, but it's important to not just have those out-of-the-box screens, but also the ability to extend that user experience for a fit-for-purpose situation. So the ability to turn that data into visual data that your operators, your users can use in the shop floor in the way they need to use it. You really, of course, need to produce quality products. It's all about world-class quality, first time right quality, and enforcing that quality and tracking that non-conformance across the production runs is super important. The ability to find issues quickly and perform a root cause analysis on what's going on and trying to figure those things out. You really require the data from the MES. Track and trace, understanding what materials have come in through your back door from receiving and moved on into products, and tracing them, not just what components went into the particular product that you made, but also tracing what equipment that it was run on. This helps you in compliance situations, and especially with FSMA for those of you that are in the food and beverage industry, and the ability to track not only the raw materials, but maybe there was a contamination on a particular piece of equipment, and knowing what batches went through that equipment while that contamination was happening. So really important a thing that we need to track for you. Digital thread, we talked about this again. You really need to understand that digital thread from the design of the product that you're making all the way through delivery and production and delivery, and the ability to connect with systems at the ERP level and even PLM level, depending on the kind of manufacturing you're doing. So having that whole digital thread and understanding all the data points and not just quality, but also the important things about the shipper and the way that the material came in is super important. So consumption back to the ERP is also a really big important thing. So what's new in plant applications 2026? Again, this is the MES component of the Proficy Smart Factory and what we'll focus on today. So we've done a lot of work to modernize the backend. We continue to build this out. One of the things that we're going to offer is an on-premise, cloud-native, containerized, Kubernetes supported offering. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. We'll talk about a lot of these things in more detail, but focusing in on the modern backend, we're also going to reduce the user experience load time. We know that it's important for your operators to have a fast user experience and the ability to understand what they're doing as fast as possible so they can make decisions in real time. We know that in situations, especially larger customers like yourselves, you have a number of different roles on the shop floor. And what opaque tokens do is let you provide additional security to more of your roles. The faster time solution is really about helping you bring up the system faster and use the product use the new capabilities as fast as you can. So we're talking about some work that we've done with the enterprise installer. So this includes upgrades. We're working really hard to make that installer faster, better, easier to use, more logging, more error checking when it's doing the install, and so forth. We're also working on the standard installer. So whether you're running Windows or whether you're running the containerized version, we're going to help you here. GraphQL is really important. I'm going to mention it later as well, but this is a way that we're starting to provide you access to the data. And we're starting to add updates and subscriptions to GraphQL so that you can actually use it to perform interfaces, to write custom code, to use it within Operations Hub. As you'll see coming up soon, we're going to have a new connector for that. Allowing users to disable certain custom calls. So this is an annoyance when customers were trying to implement the software, and there's a situation where you can input custom calls on your screens, and we're going to make that better. Another thing about customers have complained about and been hard to use from an operator's perspective is the operator really doesn't care what machines they're on. They really care about the lines. Sometimes they don't even actually know what machines to pick in my machines. So we're putting together a profile mechanism where you can make it easier for the operator to just pick the things that they're working on today. And you can set up profiles and basically pre-configure those machine settings. A lot of things in terms of the route execution capabilities. Now, this is sometimes called discrete capabilities. So we're adding more things around that, including things like qualifications for operators so that you can't perform operations unless you have certain training. We have a new inventory app coming as well. This isn't really just for discrete. It really goes across the process side too. The ability to make it easier to create routes and even copy operations between routes. So making it easier to build your routes on the fly. Also working on the ability to abort orders that are in progress. This has been a challenge for folks, and we're going to put that in place and make it actual part of the product. Integration to scheduler is important to us, so that we've added the ability to have operation plans start and end time. In terms of process capabilities, we're getting there with Autolog parity. There's a lot we've done with Autolog to make it much more like the thick client, but also make it even better. So we'll talk about some of those things as we go forward. Process order area, we've added a lot of things to fix, to enhance, I should say, the process order screen. We have a new plant calendar. This also grows across discrete, of course, as well. And we're going to make it much easier for you to put in crew and shift information, as well as holidays, non-productive time, and so forth. Really make it simple to add those things without having to have the administrator or without using an import or export. And some new Operations Hub widgets. So one of the things that we're trying to do over time is provide a way for our user experience to be more flexible so that you can create your own user experience in a way that suits your needs. So we're trying to move more to widgets and let you put the widgets on pages in any style or form or fashion that you want. So we have a couple new ones coming out, including the SPC widget. And then AI integration. If you were at our user conference, which was a couple weeks ago down in Orlando, you might have seen this in the demo booth and the ability to chat with the MES. And you can ask it any question you want about your data in your MES in a contextualized format. It will return the data. So you can even ask for a chart or a table or just maybe what's my worst performing line right now. And all of that is built in with role-based security. We're using a model context protocol, which is a modern protocol to talk to LLMs. And it basically offers up tools for the LLMs to talk to our data. So really exciting capability, and customers that saw it at the user conference were very pleased with it and excited to get it in their hands. So let's talk about more details here. So the Proficy Smart Factory SaaS offering I mentioned earlier is that you can buy Proficy Smart Factory as a managed service, and we'll take care of everything for you. It has the ability to have multiple sites on the same instance now. It supports Python, which is a more modern language than VB and the ability to have, it also has a new feature called the Predictive downtime and true root cause analysis, so that you can actually have some level of warning before a downtime is about to happen. So we'll say 6% chance of going down in the next 20 minutes at this location. Now you can take action before it actually happens and prevent that downtime. And it's all based on some AI and machine learning in the back end. So it's nothing, this is not brand new code. This is the same logic and code that we have on-premise today, but moved to 64-bit and kind of reorganized in a way that allows us to scale it much better on SaaS. It's fully containerized. It has updates monthly and upgrades quarterly. And it just received our SOC 2 compliance approval. So we now have, now we can claim SOC 2. And of course, we already have ISO 27001 certified. Let's talk about those updates and the release cadence. So the way that it works is we release a on-premise release approximately once a year. We try to hit that time frame. But on SaaS, we keep it updated. So every month, we apply updates. Now, those are sort of like SIMs on-premise, mostly addressing defects and so forth, also some enhancements. And then every quarter, we actually upgrade it. We now have point releases in between the primary releases on premise. So if we're going to release 26 here, sometime at the end of the summer, and that is going to, but we've already released capability on SaaS that will be in 2026 for our on-premise customers. So SaaS offers you a nice advantage in that you can get updates faster. So let's move on to, what if I don't want to run it on the cloud? And I have enough IT and expertise to run it on-prem myself, but you don't offer a cloud-native solution, but we do now. So with 2026, we'll offer a fully containerized cloud-native solution that you can run on-prem yourself. Now, this will be supported on multiple versions of Kubernetes, so you don't have to pick a specific one. We're testing it right now. It'll be available with Helm charts that will allow you to install very, very easily on top of your existing infrastructure. So it's really all about making it highly scalable on-prem. So today we have the ability to have high availability through the Enterprise Edition, but this brings the whole back end, again, just like in SaaS, 64-bit, Python scripting, and it really comes back to fault tolerance, because you can run multiple copies of the containers, and if one goes down, the other one picks up. And you can have as many as you want based on the scale that you need for your particular environment. And it offers near zero downtime upgrades. So this is really exciting because you can keep your plant up and running for longer. You don't have to go down as long on upgrades. We do offer managed services. If you want to buy those from us, we'll take care of it for you if you want to run it on-prem. So some customers are interested in SaaS, but they aren't comfortable running without it on-prem because of potential network outages. A lot of customers handle that with secondary and tertiary connectivity, but some customers still don't feel comfortable, and this is a way to get that cloud-native capability on-premise. Let's talk about Autolog. This is exciting. We have migrated Autolog to a new capability inside that we call the One Design System. One Design System is all about providing common components across the entire Proficy portfolio. And we have upgraded a number of components in Autolog, and one of the advantages of this is it's much faster, to much more performant in terms of data coming into the grid and data being sent out of the grid. So we have several new indicators on each cell, kind of replaces what we had before, but they're much slicker and smoother. You can now instead of the previous release, you can now view full test history. You can look at event details. You can modify event details. It's more mobile friendly. As you can see, the specification bars on the top. So if you have it on a mobile device, your keyboard doesn't cover it. And there's a lot of parity elements that are being done. A lot of you have asked for color schemes. We're going to put that in this release and have it available for 26. So hopefully that will be useful to you. You know, this is all about parity, this slide, but really there's a lot of new things in Autolog that are beyond legacy, beyond what legacy had. So you can now have documents associated with your Autolog. You can have documents that are associated with the equipment that that particular sheet is related to, or the current product that you're running. And those documents will show up in the right-hand side pane. So perhaps material safety data sheets, equipment instructions, changeover instructions, etc. So searching for historical and the ability to pin a column. So let's say you had a really good run and you want to pin that to show the operator what the value should look like. You can do that very easily. If you remember in the old Autolog, in the thick line, you had to kind of bounce around between your Autologs to figure out, hey, is anything new? Well, you now have a watch tab that will tell you, hey, something new happened on one of your sheets. You don't have to sit and watch the sheet. It'll actually inform you that that's happened. You can download the data. We have variable summaries that are going to be kind of like Excel-like. I don't know if we're going to get that one fully finished, but it's pretty cool where you can highlight cells and do some simple math with them. The e-signature is improved. So we now have a user-to-user e-signature. So instead of just user approver, you can also have user-to-user. So 4i verification without having to have a full approval on site. It's really nice because it's much faster than the old way of 24 hours. Say if you had column every 10 minutes, it took a while to load a 24-hour sheet. It doesn't do that anymore. You can say, only give me the last 10 columns, much faster. Let's talk about qualifications. This is a feature where you can make sure your operator has the proper training and qualifications to perform the particular operation that they're going to clock onto. If they don't, we stop them. Material properties, we've extended this a little bit and made it easier for improving ERP integration. So you can have things like shelf life now, lot controlled, etc. So there's expiration dates available on the materials now. So a lot of extension to how you track products and materials. This isn't exactly new. It's been out for a little while, but I wanted to make sure you knew about it. We have a new Proficy Smart Factory SAP connector for ERP. It actually connects to any ERP, but the nice thing about this is SaaS certified, SAP certified. And that means that you can be confident that it is not going to mess up your ERP, and it's easy to use with your ERP. It really doesn't require any changes on the ERP side, generally, almost never. And nothing's installed there on SAP. So it connects to any SAP, and really it also works with other ERPs as well. Very reasonably priced, and it's used by hundreds of customers already. We've partnered with a company to offer this at a very reasonable price. Plant calendar, I mentioned this earlier. This is a single source of truth for all your shifts throughout your plant. And it provides you a way to input shifts, and then we'll also apply those shifts based on the data that you're looking at when you choose current shift, previous shift, etc. Lots of capability in terms of patterns and templates. So you can say, I want 3 shifts, 8 hours each, or I want 12-hour shifts, and maybe swing shifts, etc. Maybe on for 4 days for 12 hours, off for 3, and then move those over time. So that's going to be available. It basically works like Outlook, right? In terms of a calendar, you can import export schedules if you want to still, but this makes it easier to set up your patterns and put them in place very simply for your various crews and shifts. Lots of process execution updates. I mentioned this on a previous, the original roadmap slide as well. And these are all about making it easier to run your process orders. And giving you a little more screen real estate is one of the things that customers have asked for. So you can now hide that left-hand panel. You see comments much more readily. You see the timestamps on the events that are in that particular process order, and a lot of nice features to make this a little more usable. We're always looking for suggestions too. So if you have any, please feel free to email me or put them in the ideas portal that we look at once a month. Some route execution updates. This is kind of about non-conformance mainly, and we've enhanced that with a couple of features that make it easier to for your quality personnel to really classify and disposition issues and get the material that is on hold back on the shop floor. Makes it easier to approve as well, and you have different levels of approvals. This is kind of exciting. This is a new SPC widget. So you can build your own screens in Operations Hub using this widget. You simply supply the variable information that you want to show on that SPC chart, and it pops it up. There's a lot of nice features here. It's hard to see from some of them, but you can zoom in on the various data. You can actually download the data. It will generate specs for you if you don't have any. That's what these yellow bars up here are indicating. And it's got a nice features too, in that it actually lets you do some cool things, like let's say somebody clicked on one of the points, you can actually load another Ops Hub page, or perform some script or take some action, which is kind of a nice extension, and we'll be adding more of this stuff as we add more widgets. All right, let's talk quick about GraphQL and a new way to access your data. This isn't new in 2026, but I want to make sure you know about it, because we're going to put a lot of effort into this over the next couple of releases to make it really easy for you to get the data out of the MES and build dashboards, reports, etc., and interfaces as well. So it's really about making, it's a simple query language. It's kind of an API for an API. You can use it. What we've done is taken, instead of using REST or database calls or whatever it might be to get your data, you can use GraphQL to get that data, and makes it really nice because you don't have to stick to a standard REST format. You can just call a REST endpoint and get the data that you need. And if we add more information to that REST endpoint, it doesn't break your existing one. So if you're writing some interface or you have a report that you wrote, we're not going to break it when we extend the GraphQL graph. It's actually called a graph, a federated model, as we make it better. So one of the things it does is it makes it brings all the relationships together. So today, if you're an experienced plant up user, you have to know a little bit about the database structure in order to do certain things and write reports and so forth. This eliminates that. It makes it easier for you to understand the data if you're not a database expert. It also makes it easier for you to build integrations and to build reports, but in a way that is you don't necessarily need to know about the architecture to do it. The inventory app. So over time, we're slowly replacing the reports that we offered. Some of them will be replaced by apps. So this is replacing the production listing report from the older report server. Very sensitive application. It does a lot of different things, provides history. You can search by a number of different things, including event number, status. It shows you some information on top about some KPIs, and you can turn those on and off. You can hide them. It allows you to search on a lot of different things, and it allows you to pin that search if it's something that you do all the time, or make it the default. So you can make it a default, and every time you open the app, it'll show you say you're an owner of a certain material. You can see all your materials very easily by just simply opening the app and making that your default. Or if you own multiple materials, you can pin searches and save searches so that you don't have to type things in over and over. You can just look at the things that you're usually looking at. And we'll implement a way to actually do updates in this application in the next release of it. So we're close to being able to do that, but we actually wanted to do it with GraphQL. So we're kind of, eating our own dog food in a way, right? So providing capability and features using the GraphQL that you're going to use as well. Now, this is a new thing from SESME. This is i3x. And what this is about is making data easy to get to in a very common way. So it kind of helps with the kind of API, the plethora of APIs out there, and makes it easier to use data from one system to another. So if you're using one, say, quality system, and you wrote an interface and you want to replace it with the Plant Apps quality system, you can do that very easily. If they use i3x, we use i3x as well, and it makes it simple to simply drop in and a new capability. So we'll provide this in 2026, some level of that in 26, and we'll keep extending it over time. We've already done a proof of concept, and we've been able to be pretty successful in a very short amount of time. So this just makes it easier to get to your data as well in a common format. All right, let's talk real quick about AI, because you can't, again, have a conversation today without doing that. So let's talk about the areas of AI initiatives that we're working on. There's a number of things across the Proficy portfolio. Just mentioned here that we've done proof of concepts on. These are the 7 areas that we are focused on. And one I want to drill in on is that natural language access and chatting with the Proficy MES. So if you look at this example, this is actually a real screen. This is a real prompt and real data being returned to it. That was shown at the user conference. It's based on that GraphQL, right? I mentioned before. So we're going to start using our own tools that you use today as well, so we can be confident that they're working and they're solid and they perform quickly. It is built out in that MCP that we talked about, which is an industry standard created by Anthropic. And it lets you just naturally chat with your database, with your MES data. It's ready for multi-tenancy. It has role-based access control built into it. What does that mean? That means that if you don't have access to certain data that you ask about, it's not going to give you that data, right? So if you're supervisor for line 1 and 2, you will not see data for line 3 and 4 unless you have access to do that. It stores your history, and you can add a bunch of other data to it as well. Really exciting times. Folks were impressed by this at the user conference. So why choose Proficy Smart Factory? Well, from a business perspective, it's really about the ability to run multiple types of manufacturing in a single system. It's also about real-time visibility all the way from the equipment on the shop floor all the way to the supervisor that's running the lines. The operations hub capability, the visualization, lets you see that data also in Historian, which is included with Proficy Smart Factory. And these new widgets that we're adding allow you to use that visualization tool to make it easier to see your data and, of course, use it. It's AI powered. So we talked a little bit about the SaaS component that does predictive downtime. But as we get further along the line, you'll be able to use that chat capability with Proficy MES soon with 2026, actually. It'll be, it's faster time to value. And because we're lowering the cost to customize it, we've simplified the implementation of the SaaS version. These new profiles are really exciting. Some customers that we demoed those to and actually relied on for input are super excited about those. So it just makes it easier to get going and to use the system. The ability to integrate with ERP and our Proficy scheduler is easier with this new edition. And we have some new capabilities in nonconformance and genealogy that give you a true audit trail throughout the system. It's just native to the application. So a lot of capability to improve your quality in your plant. From a technical perspective, we do have SOC 2 compliance, as I mentioned, and it's all cloud native. You can run it, we'll run it for you, or you can run it yourself if you like to do that. It is highly available. So in this enterprise edition of 2026, we're targeting a 1 minute or less HA failover, but we believe that we can actually get to 0. So full HA, you will not go down is our plan. So we're almost there and feeling pretty confident about that. So the other capabilities we talked about, GraphQL, there's 12 what's called subgraphs, all federated together so that you can see them very easily. And it's things like if you want to get information about your downtime events. And today, if you understand how to write against the database, you have to know quite a few tables, probably about 12 to get a report out. Well, with the GraphQL, you don't have to know any of those relationships anymore because we built them in. So you can just go ask for that downtime data and select the reason names instead of having to go join with other tables and know SQL to do that. The MCP server, the AI agents are really exciting. As we go over time, we'll build more agentic AI that actually will perform actions if you let it, if you want it to. I know there's, of course, trepidation about that sometimes. So this will be optional. But this is our first step towards it with the MCP connector. The OPC UA and Historian via WebSockets is available now for a number of concurrent users. Really, we make it very easy to extend your system to hundreds of users and have no problem with that. The native widgets that we're adding are exciting, and we'll do more of that over time. Security. So again, security is super important to us, and we've invested a lot of energy in this, and we want to make sure that you don't have security breaches based on our software. So a lot of capability built in, like TLS, it's all end-to-end. And we add those opaque tokens, which makes it more secure and gives you a larger security scope that you can provide more capabilities to a given set of users. And then, of course, the UI load time, which is exciting. This will be much faster to load the user experience. And in the next release, it'll be even faster. So we're taking a two-step approach to this and improving first on the application side and then also on the visualization side as we move forward. So one step at a time, but you'll see some improvement there. So that's all I have today, and I'm going to turn it back over to Alexis.